Well, I was going to ask this later in the interview, but I think it segs in really well now. In your opinion, is the era of the big network television special dead?
We're talking about Magic Special.
Magic special, yeah. Yeah, in industry.
Well, you have to be really, really careful these days because of the internet. You go out and do something, and somebody thinks you're great for those 5 minutes, and then the TV show is over, and they go on the internet, and they do a few quick searches, and bam, they have the answers. When I did my TV show, and I hired some different people, I hired Banachek and a few other people to be my magic consultants at the time. I had a list of guidelines, and one of them I said, whatever we do on the show cannot be searchable through the internet, and it cannot be a store-bought or a magic shop-bought prop. We have to design everything from scratch so people can't research us and find us and go, oh, that's how he did that trick, or that's how he did that trick. And I think it's really something performers have to consider. And it's funny that Blaine now just recently did his special, and I heard as soon as the show was over, half the stuff he did was available on the internet. He was going to take it the opposite way and not try and hide it, but say, hey, it's available and you can buy it. I don't know. I don't agree with that. They were asking me when I was doing Phenomenon, can we get video footage of some people talking about you? And I said, sure, and I gave them a list of Vegas celebrities that they can videotape, like Carrot Top. And one of the people that I contacted was David Copperfield. And I said, David, I'm doing this TV show, and they want to do pre-show interviews. Could they interview you? And David said to me, I'm not doing TV anymore, not in the States for a while. And he kind of has realized, it's a tough sell these days.
Do you think it's just risk first reward? Like, why put your face out there if there's not that direct pop for you?
It's a very good thing to do. Television made Chris Angel what he is, from a nobody to a rock star of magic in maybe 3 years. Probably after his third season of Mind Freak, Chris is huge. So it made him what he is. But at the same time, it also set the bar really high for what he has to compete with now in his own live show. So I just think it has to be redefined. I don't think a magician can come out and just do a bunch of tricks. They have to be very aware of the fact that people are going to say, well, it's camera tricks or it's editing tricks. And the show has to be done in such a way that people at home believe what they're seeing. And they believe that the performer could also do it live, which changes things around. Copperfield used to do it. When Copperfield would do a special, and then you would go see him live 3 months later when he toured through your town, you'd pretty much see the exact show that you saw on TV live. So you never really questioned him. But it's something that a performer these days has to keep in mind when they're designing their show. Do I want to put the show out to sell tricks on the internet and these different websites, or do I want to put it out to amaze people and people can't find this stuff?
Yeah. So, all right, well, let's go back to a time before television for you. The crossroads in your life, as any person who wants to go into the performing arts, where you make that decision to make your living performing. Mm-hmm. What went into that kind of thinking, and how did the decision eventually get made in your mind that I want to gamble this portion of my life and make sure that I follow my dream?
The decision was made when I was 17 years old, when I was getting ready to graduate high school. At that point in time, I was already touring the country with other performers as their apprentice. I was the guy who'd push the illusions on the stage or run the music or unload the cases.
Who were you touring with?
Excuse me?
Who were you touring with?
I used to tour with an escape artist named Mario Mancini. Mm-hmm. I think he's still around, so I learned a lot about escapes and stuff from him. I used to tour with a magician named Charles Merrill. He did a combination illusion show and dove act. So I was kind of learning a few different things across the board. I was learning how to deal with agents. One of the shows we dealt with was a circus, so we would tour around the country, and it was an indoor circus. When I was working with Mancini, we were doing outdoor festivals where we would do, 9 days in a row. Westchester County Fair, we were out there 9 days straight. I think we did 6 shows a day. I did theater shows. So I kind of learned the gamut of what was available to a performer. And I really, really wanted to do it. I really liked performing. I liked being on stage and being artistic and creative that way. And I told my mom when it was getting close to graduation, I don't want to try college. I want to try performing. And the day after I graduated, I remember sitting at my kitchen table, putting together mailers for schools and colleges and saying, now available, touring. And I had pictures made and I was stuffing envelopes. And I just went right into it the day that I graduated high school.
Do you think that that's important? Because it seems like there's a few stories in the magic industry about how you go pro, and that is certainly one of them. Where you just you don't look back from that first decision as a teenager, and you just kind of go right out right out the barrel of the gun and just kind of put on horse blinders to anything else that's there. But that it seems like there's a reason for that you don't almost let doubt creep in because you're young enough to figure, screw it, let's go ahead full bore.
Well, I didn't let doubt creep in. I knew I had the talent to do what I wanted to do, but I also knew that, you have to wait for that lucky break in show business. So at the same time I was doing that, I was also working. I was building my show at the time, and I was building like a lot of remote control stuff and box triggers and light triggers and flashpot triggers. And I used to go into Radio Shack a lot and buy these switches and boxes and cables and really work on my show. And the manager had said to me, wow, you buy a lot of stuff and you create a lot of stuff, would you like a job here? And I started to work at Radio Shack on the side to have money to fund all this stuff that I was doing. So I always kept a day job until I knew that magic was paying enough so I can do it full time. So even though I did go into it with a strong head, I always kept my feet on the ground and I didn't pursue college, but I pursued other things where I continued to be able to support myself and eventually my family, because I didn't go pro until I was married with a few kids.
Oh, wow. So that makes that decision that much bigger, when it's not just, you suffering through ramen noodles. It is the family.
Yeah. Well, and, something, you want to follow your dream, but you don't want to give the family a rotten life in the meantime. When I was working with another act, and I won't mention who they are, they were a married couple, and they were waiting for that big break to occur so they can make money and start a family.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's crazy. I want to be able to share my success with my family, which is why I started my family. I think I was married at 22 and had my first child at 24. And I've been sharing my success with my family the entire time. I have 6 kids, and they love to watch Daddy on TV. And my son works on the show, and he comes to the show. And, so it wasn't, I didn't put my life on hold waiting for the big break. I just continued, supported everybody, did what I had to do as a father and a family man, and worked on my dream at the same time. And I set up a bunch of goals, and I said, okay, this is what it takes for me to survive for 1 year with my family. And I figured out all my bills and came up with a very solid number and said, I'm not going to quit my day job until I have that much in the bank. So I know when I quit, if I don't perform for 1 year, I can still sustain the style of living that I want with my family. And that became my first goal. And then I put the money in the bank, and, I set up a very detailed plan as to how I was going to go pro.
So would you say that understanding your finances is almost just as big a part of making that decision as let's say your talent or your ambition?
You have to look at the big picture. You have to look at the finances. You have to look at your show itself and what kind of show that you have and where it could be sold and the venues that would actually be interested in buying your show and the kind of money that you can command. And, you have a 6-minute silent dove act. You have to set up different expectations and different goals than somebody like me, where I had, a 75-minute mentalism act that worked really well in corporate, where I can go in and do a full corporate show and make a ton of money, where, a 6-minute dove act doesn't have that option available, where they could be part of a variety show or do TV spots or something like that. So you have to figure out what you're going for, what your persona is, what you're going to specialize in, and where your target market is going to be.